It is a great pleasure to welcome you in an interesting topic about customer care and service delivery. Customer care or good service delivery can be a pillar to a company's or an organization's success. But what if in an organization there is poor customer care or service delivery? I am with Mireille Carrera, the executive chairwoman and founder of Cora Coaching. Let me give her space to share ideas on this topic. Welcome, Mireille. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you, Ines. It's a pleasure to be with you.
It's a pleasure to be with you too. What is the role of leaders in addressing quality of service in organization as someone who tends to meet with CEOs and interact with them? What do you say to that?
That's a very good question. Very, very good question. I think as CEOs, as leaders, it's certainly one of the top things we have to bear in mind. When we set up organizations, we have customers in mind. So without customers, there is no business. So it is certainly a central role to put customer first. So customer centricity, I believe, is a key word here. And specifically when it comes to CEOs, CEOs are mandated by boards of directors to lay out and also execute the vision, the mission, and the mandate of the organization. So therefore, they have delegated powers by the board to run operations so that customers are better served. So I would say, if you are a CEO out there, you should make it your number one focus. Customer. And by customer, we mean internal customers, your employee, as well as the external customers, which are the people who pay for our goods and services.
Some staff of organizations and companies have ideas in their minds, but they say that their CEOs and managers doesn't listen to them. So how can there be a good communication between the staff that meets a lot of time with clients and their managers?
Yes, so I am very much aware of cases like that, and I believe that in organizations where staff or people within the organization do not feel that their ideas are advanced in order for them to deliver better, it is an issue of corporate culture. So having systems in place where there is an inclusive corporate culture, where every employee from the reception when you enter to the driver when you leave the office, everyone in between, up, down, sideways, should really have that opportunity to share solutions because they interact with customers, be it vendors, partners, sponsors, or any key stakeholders. I would recommend that organizations, particularly CEOs who are mandated to do all of these things, are to inculcate or bring in the culture of leadership. So meaning every employee knows that they are the CEO of their own role.
Great. As an expert, as someone who meets with clients and CEOs a lot, can you give 3 tips to CEOs that are still struggling with customer care, giving, or service delivery in their organizations and companies?
There are many tips I wish I could give, but because you asked me for 3, so I will give you those 3. So the first one is everything starts with you and ends with you. So personal leadership. Take ownership of your role, wherever you are, whichever department you are in, because your one drop does actually affect the bigger pool of the services in our clients. So personal leadership, which also means that you have to have that learning culture. So equip yourself with your product knowledge or service knowledge. If you are serving clients, you are in HR or operations or whichever department, and you are servicing cars in motorways. So you should know a lot about cars, different types of cars. If you are in a bar, you should know what is the whole value chain to get the client to have a drink. So that equipping and learning yourself is something that we always say that leadership is a lifelong learning journey. You never stop to learn, even within the organization. Even if you spent 10 years, 5 years, 20 years, there's always that one thing you can learn to improve your customer experience. And the third one is accountability once again, because again it all starts with you, but accountability this time with evaluation. There's got to be somehow within teams, within leadership circles of the organization, and also trickling down to everybody, every employee, a way for collectively or individually evaluating periodically how well we are doing. How are we positioning ourselves versus our peers in the same industry, versus our peers in the continental area or globally as well? So evaluation, I believe, will be a very good thing that we should consider as part of accountability.
Perfect. I believe CEOs can learn from that. Those are beautiful tips and very, very essential. Now, how important on a scale from 1 to 10 is hiring, firing, and training in a company or an organization?
So those three things: hiring, firing, and training. And I guess training before firing, right?
Yes.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say 11. Right? So what I'm trying to say is way beyond the maximum, because when you start, or when you hire, shall we start with the hiring? So you need to look at, when you hire an employee, regardless of the leadership level, there's got to be an onboarding process in place. And the most effective way is for someone, let's say CEO particularly, is to make sure they sit with every single department within, but also key partners, key stakeholders, to ensure that everyone is aware that yes, there is a new person, but also the culture is very much known. But at the same time, your key stakeholders know who is their counterpart. So sometimes we focus on internal training and internal onboarding, but we forget that our customers needed to be made aware that there has been a change. There has been a change in our key contact person. If I am going to speak to my account manager at a particular organization, but they have left. So one tip perhaps I could give there between hiring and firing is also to include all of these processes of onboarding, but also exit. So how you conduct exit interviews at the end determine the next hire, right? So between hiring and firing, there's got to be within HR processes all of these steps that enable your employees to know exactly the vision, the mission, but also who are those clients that they should focus on? Who are those clients that perhaps are at risk?
Thank you very much. What is the cost, let's say in organizations or companies, what is the cost of not listening to clients, as someone who is expert on that and who deals with clients and CEOs a lot?
So what is the cost of not following the processes?
And not listening to clients,
And not
what they
listening to
actually
clients.
want.
Yes. Well, the cost of not listening to clients is very obvious. There is no business without clients. So if you don't listen to clients, you won't have clients. That means you won't be existing for a very long time. So, and clients are the very reason why a business exists. So the risk is a life risk. So there's existential threat, if I can call it that way, from any organization, be it business or non-profit as well. So whoever you serve should be listened to. The golden rule here is to make sure that we put the client first. Client centricity, I believe, is the golden rule.
Thank you very much. As a career coach, as a coach in particular, can you share a short experience or a short story you've encountered in your life where you've received, let's say, poor customer care in a place? What was your reaction? How did you react as a career coach, as a coach in whole?
It's an interesting question you are asking, because if you had asked me that question as a regular person who's not a coach, I would have given you one answer. But you're asking me a question specifically as a coach. So the way I came across bad customer service, if that's how to call it, versus a person who's not career or business coaching focused is clearly different. So I'll give you one example that comes to mind. One example is a place I went to. I'm not going to name the place. And in that place, I often go there, and I saw that the facilities were utilized in a way that customers were not getting the benefits to the fullest extent. So what I did, I reported the issue. I reported how I, as a customer, was not really benefiting from their services at 100%, because whenever I would go there and spend 3 hours, 4 hours of my day, there will be that little issue. So I made a phone call to the manager of that specific facility and explained to them my experience as a customer. And at the same time, because you asked me the question about as a coach, so at the same time, I am not just a client in that situation. I am a coach, I am a business owner of a number of businesses. So I had to put on a number of hats as I was speaking to the manager. So call the manager and explain the situation, how it happened many times. And I put myself in the shoes of his other customers. So I put forward some suggestions. And with those suggestions, there was, in fact, later on an opportunity to partner with them. So there was an opportunity to connect them with another organization where I sit on their boards. We presented some opportunities for them to solve the issues for their customers. What is the lesson? What is the lesson? I think the lesson is twofold. The lesson from that establishment is to have had a better quality of service, right? So they got that lesson because they heard, they had a customer who spoke to them, and the customer who did not just go in to complain, but a customer who collaborated and partnered with them to provide even better services. So that was one side of the coin. The other side of the coin, where I was the coach, the business owner, the partner, potential partner, it was to say, we are in this together. I'm here. I spent pretty much, twice a month I go there for 3-4 hours. So that's half of my life that I am there. So I own my 3 hours times 2 a month, times God knows how long I'm going to be going there. So it is my ownership, my accountability to make sure that also I'm part of the solution, but also for the wider community that goes there in that establishment. And it's been welcomed. And now I can say that things are being changed. So those that listen or read your papers should in fact not just go in there to complain, but to say, what can I do to change? Because it's a win-win. All of us win, the service provider, but also the client as well. So go in there as a coach rather than just a client.
Thank you. And it is a great thing that it ended well and with the lesson learned and solution found.
That's right.
There is a perception that foreigners get good customer care or good service than the locals here in Rwanda. What would you say about that, and how can it be best addressed?
That's an interesting thing. So there's a perception that the internationals get better services than actual Rwandan locals.
Yeah.
Okay. I was not that much aware, but I will make some assumptions. The assumptions that I'm making here, maybe the source of that perception is on the spending, purchasing power, perhaps. Perhaps I'm thinking that those who provide services may see internationals as some who may have more, deeper pockets, shall we say. Perhaps I'm making assumptions, so I've not seen studies or research for me to say that's indeed the situation. So I will go with your assumption. But the question will be, how do we change that perception? I think that's the real question. So the real question, how do we change the perception for us Rwandans? Because I would imagine we are the majority in this country, right? So if we are the majority in this country, we are the majority of customers, we are the majority of service providers. So that would mean making sure that we value people at the same level. So the golden rule, once again, do unto others as you will have them do to you, which means that I wouldn't want to be treated as a second-class citizen anywhere outside of Rwanda, so why would that be the case here? So again, that's what you said. I'm just going with your assumption because I don't think I've experienced that myself.
It's still an assumption and a perception, but I believe if there are companies or organizations doing so, should learn from that.
Yeah,
thank you
absolutely.
very much.
And I would invite also maybe to do a polling, meaning a study or a research for all of us, right? Maybe it's an idea, suggestion for New Times to do some kind of a survey online or offline. There are many ways to do surveys to really make sure that we quantify that perception or qualify that as well.
The government of Rwanda has invested a lot in campaign, in training, in experts, all about customer care giving, service delivery, all around that. And someone might see it and say that they think that it's getting value of its money or that it's making an impact. In your own opinion, what do you think?
Yeah, those are really good questions. I think those are questions that are always better answered with facts and figures and statistics. So I'm very big in statistics for me to be able to formulate an opinion with some kind of data. And clearly I cannot speak on behalf of the government. I'm just a regular citizen, regular business person. So I don't have any kind of quantitative data to establish whether they are getting the return on the investment. But the question, I guess, here is, can we do more? Or can we do better? Or can we do differently? And the answer there will be absolutely. Absolutely. And why? I'm thinking of one thing in particular. So clearly we are investing in becoming a hub, and certainly we are becoming a hub as a nation. So we have seen the CHOGM beautifully well organized, and kudos to everyone involved. And I can see that there will be more and more of international, not only events coming, but also companies, and really us being a hub like our neighbors in Kenya or in the south, Johannesburg, etc. So while we are investing in the physical infrastructure, let's also think about the mental and intellectual infrastructure, which is the people, but not do it in a traditional manner, but really do it bottom up, right? So starting with the majority. And who are the majority? The youth. So by the youth, we mean involving them at every single level of decision. So I loved how at CHOGM there was a youth forum. So I want to see more. I want to see better, but even more focused to specific sectors that we want to raise. And again, we need to quantify. We need to find quick, short, measurable ways for us to see the success. So that, I believe, will be a win-win, not only for the country, but also every stakeholders involved, including the people, infrastructure, but at the shorter, long term.
Why is that in Rwanda we see CEOs and partly CEOs? We don't see them interacting with customers, but we tend to see them speaking at events, speaking at conferences, press conferences, but we never see them interacting with clients. Let's say in an organization or a company, the CEO takes the lead and says, let me go and meet my customers and try to understand them, try to learn from them, try to know what they want. We never see that. What do you think is that?
This question is a little bit mind in a way, because yes, we have the perception that CEOs at our conferences because they are at public events. So it will be difficult to say that they never go and see customers because it will be closed events, and typically it will be at meetings where there are, there's confidential discussion. So I cannot really establish that there are more out there than in here. But if there is some kind of reason to believe that CEOs spend less time with clients but more on public platforms, then there has to be something that needs to be done if it is that case. And again, what we do at Cora, part of our customer service offering is to include elements of executive education. So in our executive education curricula, we do have elements of equipping leaders with tools that enable them to find out who their key clients are, to find out who to pay attention to, what systems to put in place in order for them to always be out there and engaging, but also be in there. Again, clients are who? They are external and internal. I would say even internal, because when you build your ground, when your foundation at home, meaning within the organization, is very strong, that means very likely without much of effort, that will replicate, it will mirror within your client base as well. So both are extremely important, because whether it is the CEO who's ill-equipped or not that well equipped to deal with customers, that means it's a HR issue, which then affects customer services. So both of them are equally important. Internal customers, that CEO is an internal customer to the board and also to other key stakeholders, as well as the external customers who pays.
Well, it all comes back to CEOs. They are the ones to do the most if they want customer care or service delivery to improve. Thank you. So how can businesses use technology to elevate the quality of service?
I think technology is everything. Have you heard of the term TIA, which is This is Africa?
Yes.
I would say TIE. Technology is everything. So TIE is something that we know is part of our daily life. Technology is really what drives everything. So regardless of what you do, find a way to become a technology company, right? So if you're in financial services, you would have some kind of mobile apps. If you are in restaurants, you will somehow be on platforms that deliver foods. So there's one that comes to mind. I'm sure you know which one I'm referring to. And if you are, a cab driver or a cab company, make sure that, you utilize that. If you are in education, like we are, professional education, so find a way to have some kind of access on online platforms so that customers can have access to your services in a diversified way. So TIE, technology is everything.
You shared a lot of ideas, mind-opening ideas and solution-oriented ideas. And would you like to add or share anything else on what you just talked about?
I think over and above the hows, which is the process, the policies of customer services, there's always something that I say in our sales and business development coaching classes, which is your one customer, the person who's in front of you, like you are in front of me, has 1,000 customers behind that person. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that if you deliver your goods and services to that one person, he or she is very likely to bring in 1,000 to you through referral, through word of mouth marketing, which then means that you utilize less and less cost of sales to acquire your customers, maintain your customers, because that trust is already built. So by doing the right thing, you certainly have a lot more people. And I would also invite your readers to join our next courses that we have for sales and business development, where we teach 10 protocols of how to make sure that you increase profitability through proper customer service. So I appreciate your time, and also bringing me back to some days where I used to be at a help desk when I used to live in the UK. Probably your age. In my career where I started at a help desk, solving problems for my customers in my mid-20s, and then became an account manager, meaning making sure my customers were looked after, they were getting the services they purchase, and later on led teams of new business developments across different continents, Europe, Middle East, and Africa. So you asking me those questions just brought me back to some of these times, and also some of the things we teach to CEOs, but also to the young generation. Because we want Rwanda to have the best customer service, to make sure that we have more successes and we leave this country better than we found.
Thank you very much, Mireille. That was very interesting and mind-opening and really effective. I really hope CEOs and anyone else involved in customer care delivery or service delivery gets to note and learn from these mind and opening and really solution-oriented ideas that Mireille just shared. Thank you very much.